But you fought basketball players, you fought strikers in the UFC, you fought a 50-year-old, Mike Tyson. Yeah, the money was there, but it wasn't the toughest matches in the world. Why'd you pick those fights? Because you could make money without it being much of a risk.
It's kind of weird, because Jake Paul is extremely bigger than Tank. And but with it being exhibition, it makes sense.
Going up against a 200-pounder, I think it's not a real fight. Jake just too big. Tank ain't gonna be able to get in from that jab.
Stephen A. Smith didn't hold back while breaking down the Jake Paul vs. Gervonta Tank Davis showdown. According to Stephen, Gervonta is one of the greatest fighters of this generation, an explosive knockout artist with elite instincts, timing, and power that can end a fight in seconds. While Jake Paul's size and reach advantage can't be ignored, Stephen A. emphasized that raw athleticism isn't enough when you're standing across from a world-class technician like Tank. He warned that despite Jake's physical edge, stepping into the ring with Gervonta could quickly turn into a brutal lesson in boxing reality.
Knockout on Ryan Garcia in April of 2023. Stephen A., is Tank Davis the most exciting fighter in boxing?
Yes, he is. He absolutely is. I love me some Terrence Crawford. He's spectacular, probably #1 pound for pound on the planet. I'm a Canelo Alvarez fan. Obviously, I'm a David Benavidez fan. But this brother, Gervonta Davis, Tank Davis, the time has come for the world to recognize this is one of the top 5 fighters on the planet. He might be top 3.
Yeah.
You can make a legitimate argument for him to be in 3, 1, or whatever.
According to Smith, Gervonta is one of those rare natural fighters whose reflexes and punching power often place him among the sport's elite. He believes the size difference gives Paul a chance to land something decisive, but if Davis manages distance and timing effectively, the fight could turn into a rout. In his frequent segments, Stephen A. warns Jake that overconfidence could be his downfall, because size means little when you're trading shots with a polished knockout artist.
Jake Paul versus Tank Davis, they just announced the fight. What's your instant reaction to that?
I don't know what's going to happen with a 135-pounder going up against a 200-pounder. I think it's not a real fight. Jake just too big. Tank ain't gonna be able to get in from that jab. Jake land one good punch on Tank, it's over with.
Smith has made it clear on multiple occasions that he views Jake Paul as more than just an internet personality dabbling in boxing. He acknowledges that Jake has shown real commitment, training with professional coaches, building proper camps, and putting in the work. By those measures, Jake is carrying himself like a professional. However, Stephen A. argues that professionalism alone isn't enough. Now is the time for Jake to test himself against real boxers, fighters his age, of similar size, active, and credible within the sport. Only that kind of opponent, Smith says, will reveal whether Jake is truly ready to step beyond the sideshow and earn respect in the traditional boxing world.
Paul is a professional. At some point in time, I don't give a damn if it's a light heavyweight. Better be Bivol, a super middleweight, Canelo, Mexican Monster, David Benavidez, somebody that actually has a reputation. The time has come for Jake Paul to step into the ring with a cat who actually boxes for a living and give us that fight. I appreciate the fact of him promoting. I appreciate him having the cachet as a former YouTuber turned boxer. I like Jake Paul. I respect Jake Paul. I'm just saying, because I like him and because I respect him, I want to see him in the ring. And I don't want to hear, I know his numbers are better, but then he's going to say, I don't need Canelo, Canelo needs me. Well, wait a minute. It ain't just about popularity, bruh. But you fought basketball players, you fought strikers in the UFC, you fought a 50-year-old, Mike Tyson. Yeah, the money was there, but it wasn't the toughest matches in the world. Why'd you pick those fights? Because you could make money without it being much of a risk. Well, if you're doing that, how you gonna turn around and knock Canelo Alvarez for doing the same? Especially working in a sport that you yourself, Jake Paul, has called corrupt and abusive towards fighters. Now I understand you're upset, you're a little bit salty about Canelo using you to get a better deal from Riyadh or him turning down a fight with you, but what you're attempting to do and what you have done to some degree Canelo Alvarez has done. He has fought Triple G. He has fought Mayweather. He has, I mean, even though Charlo's undersized, he was a champion. Terrence Crawford is a champion. By the way, he's not 140, he's not 135, he's 147. And then his last fight, I think, was at 154. And oh, by the way, he would move up a couple of weight classes. Now, I think Canelo needs to be fighting David Benavidez as well. But he did fight and knock out Kovalev at the light heavyweight spot. He did fight and lose to Bivol. He did fight Triple G, not once, not twice, but 3 times. So when Canelo sits up there and says, I fight fighters, he ain't lying. His reputation does speak for itself. So I can't sit up there and flow with you, Jake Paul, on that one.
He has pointed out that Jake Paul can't really complain about receiving criticism when Canelo Alvarez is doing nearly the same thing. Smith argues that even Canelo, a legitimate boxing legend, has recently taken fights that seem driven more by money and spectacle than pure competition. Stephen A. Smith has also challenged Jake directly, saying that if he's truly serious about boxing, not just the flash, paydays, or spectacle, he should fight someone his own age and size. Smith contends that Paul has been choosing opponents with clear physical mismatches, often older or much smaller fighters. If Jake wants to prove his legitimacy, he needs to step into the ring with someone who is his peer. According to Stephen A., that's the only way to truly test his skills, build credibility, and show real progress, not just make headlines.
And buy the hype at this particular moment in time. Now, I'll give Jake Paul credit for this. At least he's in the ring with a boxer. But 57 years old is 57 years old. And 57 years old and formally walking into a UFC fight as an audience member, as a patron with a cane, it's hard to me to believe a year later that you're going to be in any condition to really fight. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know. And if you're Jake Paul, here's what I want to say to you. It's Mike Tyson, that's fine. It's a money fight, I get you, and you want to make money. But at some point in time, if you keep telling us that you're taking boxing seriously and you want to be recognized as a big-time boxer / fighter, you're going to have to fight somebody closer to your age, who is a contender at the very least in the sport and who lives with it every single day. Could you please get in the ring with somebody? Pretty please with sugar on top. I'm interested.
But you fought basketball players, you fought strikers in the UFC, you fought a 50-year-old, Mike Tyson. Yeah, the money was there, but it wasn't the toughest matches in the world. Why'd you pick those fights? Because you could make money without it being much of a risk. Well, if you're doing that, how you gonna turn around and knock Canelo Alvarez for doing the same? Especially working in a sport that you yourself, Jake Paul, has called corrupt and abusive towards fighters. Now, I understand you're upset, you're a little bit salty about Canelo using you to get a better deal from Riyadh or him turning down a fight with you, but what you're attempting to do and what you have done to some degree, Canelo Alvarez has done. He has fought Triple G, he has fought Mayweather. He has, even though Charlo's undersized, he was a champion. Terrence Crawford is a champion. By the way, he's not 140, he's not 135, he's 147. And then his last fight, I think, was at 154. And oh, by the way, he would move up a couple of weight classes. Now, I think Canelo needs to be fighting David Benavidez as well. But he did fight and knock out Kovalev at the light heavyweight spot. He did fight and lose to Bivol. He did fight Triple G, not once, not twice, but 3 times. So when Canelo sits up there and says, I fight fighters, he ain't lying. His reputation does speak for itself. So I can't sit up there and flow with you, Jake Paul, on that one.
Meanwhile, Jake Paul fired back at the criticism by reminding everyone that he's still relatively new to boxing. This isn't something he's been doing his whole life. He leans into his entertainment background, saying, I was on Disney when these guys were already winning UFC belts. By that, he implies that many of his critics have been in combat sports for years while he was busy building a career in show business. In his view, it's unrealistic to expect him to start at the top of the sport overnight. That said, Jake insists he's learning quickly and fully committed to the fight game now, ready to prove himself inside the ring.
You are beating up on dudes who don't box. They're not boxers.
I was on Disney Channel while these guys were winning UFC championships.
Okay.
You know, I was playing with Mickey Mouse while these guys were throwing arm bars and winning UFC championships. Everyone's, analyzing my career, critiquing it, paying attention to it from day one, but you can't tell me who was Mike Tyson's first fight. You can't tell me who Muhammad Ali, who is his fourth fight. No one knows, but everyone's seen all of my fights. I tried to fight Tommy Fury. Yeah, I tried to fight Tommy Fury, and he backed out due to a rib injury. Undefeated, young prospect. He comes from the Fury family. His brother's the heavyweight champion of the world. I tried to fight him, and he got...
Smith has been vocal about his appreciation for what Jake Paul is doing in boxing, particularly the way Paul promotes himself. While Smith has plenty of criticism regarding Jake's choice of opponents and questions about his legitimacy in certain fights, he respects that Paul is proving fighters can succeed without being entirely at the mercy of promoters. Smith argues that promoters have too often manipulated matchmaking, stalled fighters' careers, controlled who gets major bouts, and even abused their leverage. By stepping in and cutting through some of those traditional, promoter-controlled barriers, Jake Paul has brought new attention, money, and energy to the sport. And in Smith's view, that counts for a lot.
I've always been a fan of Jake because I think that what Jake tries to do for the sport of boxing, I think people don't realize the importance of him being able to promote for himself and not being reliant on the promoters who I believe has held the sport hostage. The only critique I've ever given Jake, I just want Jake to fight boxers. Like Nate Diaz, we know his reputation. We know the man can fight. We know in the octagon he could be something special. But we know you breathe on him, he starts bleeding.
It's a fair critique. And you know what? He should fight boxers. But then again, should he? Because I'll tell you what. If you're a human who can rake in $6 to $10 million fighting people that you know you're going to beat, and you want to build a resume and a record that's impressive with a good highlight reel, you got to be strategic about this shit. Jake's 25, 26. He's got so much time.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, I get where you coming from. All I'm saying is, we don't know your skill set because you haven't been in there with anybody really, really skilled.
One of boxing's sharpest minds, Terence Crawford, predicts that this fight is unbalanced in terms of weight, and that Jake Paul's physical advantage could overshadow technique if he lands a single clean shot. He put it bluntly, if Paul connects early with one solid punch, it could determine the outcome of the night. Still, Crawford added a caveat: given the size disparity, this matchup might resemble more of an exhibition than a true, competitive boxing battle.
Jake Paul versus Tank Davis, they just announced the fight. What's your instant reaction to that?
I don't know what's going to happen with a 135-pounder going up against a 200-pounder. I think it's not a real fight. Jake just too big. Tank ain't gonna be able to get in from that jab. Jake land one good punch on Tank, it's over.
Teddy Atlas, one of boxing's most respected voices, has spoken openly about Jake Paul's rise and the sacrifices behind it. He acknowledges that, regardless of what critics say, Paul deserves credit for securing the fights he wants, something that doesn't happen by chance. According to Atlas, it takes persistence, investment, and a willingness to sacrifice stability for the spotlight. Paul has carved out a place in boxing that few thought possible for a YouTuber-turned-fighter. Atlas also noted that Jake has genuinely improved his boxing skills. He's spent years training with top coaches, sparring with professional fighters, and learning how to handle himself inside the ring. While purists may continue to mock him, Atlas suggests that much of the criticism overlooks the effort and progress Paul has made. Many fans still dismiss him because of his background, but Atlas insists that Jake's journey stands as proof of how much he has invested to reach this level.
That I gave too much credit to Paul. Why? He's done a hell of a job to put himself in this position. He sold himself, he sold his dream, he took his dream, he took his idea, and he put it out there, and he made it happen. Give him credit for that. And he made it happen. And he took risk along the way. Yeah, he picked his spots. He's in the driver's seat. He gets to pick his spots. He's the one bringing the money. He's the one promoting. Yeah, he's the name. He made himself that, coming from where he came from, with all his followers and the whole thing, and just the uniqueness of what he was doing. But he has learned along the way. He's not a top guy yet. No, I don't know that he ever will be. He didn't have that amateur background and the things that you usually need to be a top guy. But he has improved. He is a work in progress. He is a guy that You got to give him credit that he's respected the sport. He went out there, he's worked hard at it, and he's gotten himself into this position. Having said all of that, this might be a step too far. Now, when I say it, I'm also, I try to be responsible. I've been in this game 50 years, so I know where not to step, where you could twist an ankle, or worse, you could break a leg or fall down.
Several analysts believe this fight has the potential to become one of the biggest boxing events in recent years, surpassing traditional matchups in global reach and audience engagement. Their reasoning is simple. Jake Paul isn't just a boxer, he's an entertainer and influencer with a massive fan base that extends far beyond the sport. Unlike most fighters who mainly attract dedicated boxing fans, Jake draws in millions of casual viewers through his social media presence and mainstream popularity. This crossover appeal transforms the fight into a cultural spectacle rather than merely a sporting event. Analysts predict it could dominate headlines, shatter pay-per-view records, and redefine how boxing connects with audiences around the world.
For the boxing than Gervonta Tank Davis. Now, Canelo's not a bigger global star than Jake Paul because Jake Paul is an entertainer outside the sport of boxing. That's why. So now you have people telling you that Jake Paul and Tank Davis is a circus fight, okay? It's a commercial circus fight on top of that. Jake Paul fights at cruiserweight and heavyweight, 200 plus pounds, 200 minimum. Okay, his last fight against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., former world champion, the son of a legend, he weighed in at 199 pounds. He fought Iron Mike Tyson at 224 pounds, okay? Tank Davis fights at 135 pounds. You have the storyline of David and Goliath that's going to push the entertainment part, okay? That's going to get people to draw interest in the fight. Why? Because you have the whole David and Goliath situation going on. So again, that attracts people. Okay? So it's a sideshow. But even the sideshow, yes, it's going to be on Netflix. Yes, it's going to be a big event on Netflix. But guess what? They are fighting at the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia.
The fight has been widely condemned as a spectacle disguised as sport, driven more by money than by competition. Commentators across the boxing scene have called it a greedy, cartoonish sideshow, lamenting that merit and tradition are being sacrificed for social media clicks and cash. In their view, it's a disappointing step backward for the sweet science. Davis, in particular, has faced heavy criticism for walking away from his contractual rematch with Lamont Roach Jr. in favor of a far more lucrative bout with Jake Paul. Roach, who believes he earned the win in their controversial draw, said he felt disrespected by Davis's decision. Despite the rematch clause in their contract, Davis never signed the agreement to finalize it. Instead, Tank will reportedly earn around $100 million for the exhibition with Jake Paul, a payout that far exceeds what he would have made in a rematch against Roach. Critics argue that this choice prioritizes a massive payday over boxing integrity.
Gervonta doesn't want this fight.
We want that rematch next. It's definitely the one I want next.
It's the fight I want next, but it's not the fight that's going to be next. Tank said they ain't going to give it to you. PBC had a contract for Tank Roach. Tank didn't sign it. Roach knew all along fight ain't going to happen. He was only contractually obligated to have the rematch if Roach win. Roach won that fight. Robbed him of the knockdown. It's a draw. Now they're not contractually obligated. So why didn't Tank sign the contract?
Gervonta Davis, and you're being offered 20, 30, 40 million, whatever the number is, and you're getting 7 or 8 to fight Lamont Roach.
Do you remember once upon a time, Gervonta Tank Davis had a contract on the table for like 200 million, 300 million, something crazy like that? 6-fight deal, what happened to it? The PBC split with Showtime, now with Amazon. Gervonta doesn't want to fight Jake. What else is he going to do? Let me tell you the biggest issue. He had nowhere to go.
Gary Logan and David Adeli pointed out that fame and financial gain now often outweigh legacy or competitive pride in modern boxing. Instead of pursuing a rematch with Lamont Roach, Davis opted for the lucrative, high-profile showdown with Jake Paul. The analysts concluded that while the move makes perfect business sense, it highlights how today's boxing landscape increasingly prioritizes spectacle and profit over pure competition and the sport's traditional values.
We got Tank getting in the ring with Jake Paul pretty soon. What do you think that, like, what is it?
You know why, it's a lot of people mad, a lot of people upset, real hardcore boxing fans. But you know what about boxing? I like when it's all said and done and when you guys go off, they go into the next man. Yeah. So if y'all can make a big payday, go get that payday. The sport of boxing don't love you. That's the problem with this sport. It's like, what Jake Paul did, man, it's crazy, but people getting paid off of it.
Yeah.
So if he can call any one of y'all out and y'all can get that payday, I say go get it, baby.
Do you think Jake's size and star power will give him a genuine chance, or will Tank's elite skill and knockout power be too much to handle? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for reading.